Hey, this is Heidi Lynch.
And I'm Perry Voss. And this is Avocado Toast, the series podcast.
Our web series was inspired by our real life experiences,
The great ones
and the heartbreaking ones. And our podcast series is inspired by the community around us, the people we collaborate with, the people who lift us up, the people who listen when things aren't going so well and celebrate when things are.
And in our podcast, we wanted to reach out and chat with other artists and creators to find out what makes them tick, what inspires them,
what drives them,
what brings them joy.
We hope that they inspire you as much as they inspired us.
Enjoy.
Hi, Leighton. How are you?
I'm marvelous today, Heidi. How are you doing?
Good. It's not every day that I get to talk to an actor, writer, producer, director, and acting coach, I've noticed. Also, the resident douchebag of Avocado Toast, the series, season 1, Dave.
I wear it proudly.
How has the acting coaching been going? And is that like a new thing since COVID, or is that something you've always done?
Yeah, I've always been a substitute coach for Raw Studios, which is run by Sophie Ann Rooney.
You know what's funny? Can I just interrupt you? I met Sophie at Scott Cavallero's wedding, the guy who played Hunter.
Yeah, I know Scott, yeah.
So Sophie and I both went dateless to the wedding, and we instantly just were like, and we had the best night together. We danced our butts off. We had such a good time. Yeah.
She's magnetic. Yeah.
She's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah. So with COVID and the industry shutting down, timing just finally worked out where I was able to, take this mantle on, fully, like more full time. And yeah, it's been since the industry shut down, and, I've always been reluctant though to be an acting coach because I've even spoken so candidly with Sophie saying, I don't want to get comfortable in that. I don't want to, I'm an actor first. I want, I don't want to put that on the back burner because I know coaching can take up so much time.
Right.
And Sophie just reassured me and made a promise that I control my hours. I control when I want to do sessions. And I'm in the driver's seat ultimately, right?
Yeah.
So that gave me the freedom to be like, you know what? Okay, I'll give it a shot. And to my surprise, ever since I started coaching, my acting has gotten better, right?
Totally.
It's fueled my fire more than anything else. And it's such a gift. It's such a gift.
That's amazing.
Sharing people on.
Yeah. I know, that is definitely something that I certainly, and I think a lot of actors get indoctrinated when you go through a theater school or an acting conservatory. You went to York, I went to Windsor. That like you can't have a backup plan, that will get in the way. And I just think, especially because of everything that's going on in the world, as an artist, you have to diversify and you have to have a couple different avenues of income, but also an outlet to go to, because acting is hard, that it's hard when it's not going well. It's so hard on your sense of self. You have to have other creative outlets to bounce back, to recharge that positive energy so that when you do have an audition, you do have something else. The audition isn't everything because you put so much pressure on it. You can't chill out and actually do a good job.
And you can't, there's no way you lose your sense of play. You just become this like neurotic mess going into the room where it's just like, hire me. And it feels like Christmas. Like auditions shouldn't feel like Christmas every time. Like, I should be excited going into it, but that energy just like, can I swear?
Yeah, I mean, I did too. I tried to not with like, I'm sorry.
That energy messes you up. You know, and you don't need that. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to call you the resident fuckboy, and then I thought I wouldn't swear, so I changed it to douchebag. But now I just did it. But you're the
no.
Yeah. I've definitely found that like learning to produce recently has been so empowering. Mm-hmm. And writing is also like a very creative outlet to go to. I know you write as well. Part of my morning deep dive into Leighton, that sounds wrong. Anyways, part of my morning deep dive into you was watching something that's not funny, but is beautiful. I watched Residue on CBC and the Canada Reflections. And you wrote the film. And then I was also trying to sorry, this sounds really obsessive, but I was trying to cross-reference the timelines because I think it said that was 2017.
Yes.
And then you were also like, when were you at York and when did you win the Emerging Artist of the Year award? Because I was like, did that stuff all happen around the similar
Yeah,
time?
no. So I was at York from 2010 to 2014 was the
Okay,
conservatory year.
great.
I took an extra year just to get teachable credits in case I needed that backup plan.
To
Fuck what they
diversify.
were saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I didn't officially graduate York until 2015. So then I did Residue and Judas Noir in 2017.
Yeah.
And I won the Emerging Artist of the Year award 2019.
2019.
Yeah.
Wow. So what did winning that award do for you? And did you know Philip Aikin for a long time or?
Yeah, I actually met Philip Aikin in my final year at York. There's this course that this elective that theater majors have to take. I think it's called theater man or career management. One of those. And uh, one of the final assignments is actually studying a theater or someone who's actually working in the industry. And you do an interview with them and you just gain knowledge. And I picked Obsidian Theater. So I got to meet with Philip Aikin, and then I later saw him at Theatre Ontario, which is a program where the graduating conservatory classes of each school, they get on stage and perform in front of casting directors, directors, just people who can hire you, right? And Philip once again was there in the audience, so he invited me out for lunch, and he said, "Hey, actually take this offer. I'm not just saying it to be nice." And
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm gonna take the offer. So we went out for lunch, and then we created this friendship. He became like a mentor figure, just because he started off as an actor. He went to Ryerson University, and then he kind of fell into directing and producing and creating his own work, which is kind of the trajectory that my career started taking. Um, so yeah, Philip's someone that I've always invited to whatever I'm producing
Mm-hmm.
or playing a major part in. I've always said, "Hey, Philip, I'm doing this thing.
Yeah.
Come. I want." It's like, hey, he's gonna hate this, but I don't know if you watch Scandal, but I call him Papa Pope. I'm like, you're my Papa Pope. Hey, Dad. But yeah, so he's always been very supportive of everything I write, everything I produce. He saw Residue at opening night at Real World Film Festival. So it's not just like theater, you know what I mean?
Right.
Because some people only support you in the medium that,
Yeah.
like one medium, but he supports me in all aspects. So
Wow.
winning that award and being selected by him specifically
Yeah.
and getting some coins,
Yeah. That's a nice little
it,
boost.
it
Yeah.
is. It really is. Not to sound sappy and sentimental, but it really changed my life. And I would be in a much worse situation. I wouldn't be financially ready for COVID if I did not win that award,
Yeah.
right? And it just reminds me that there are people who I put on these pedestals that look at me as equals, or um, they really believe in me. And I know that you shouldn't base your career off validation, but validation can be super empowering depending on time and context. And it was. Uh,
Absolutely.
yeah,
And I think, that mentor mentee relationship is really important. And I think it's just as important for the mentor to find a mentee. I'm sure
yeah,
he gives you a lot, but I'm sure you also open him up to either
yeah,
film in a way that he's not exposed to, or, it's reciprocal. And I
yeah,
think those mentor mentee relationships are massively important. Like Mag, the actress who plays Molly's mom in Avocado Toast,
yeah,
we did a play together and she's been, for years. She's wonderful. You can shoot her any question. She knows me. We're friends. Like I get great advice from her. And that's a relationship that I am just like so grateful to have.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Your production company, Big Dreamers Brotherhood Productions, was that formed at York? Did you meet each other there? How did that start?
Yeah, so BDB, we actually we were a group of friends that, Lavelle Adams, great, he's my best friend. So, wherever you would see Lavelle, I'd be there and vice versa. So we
Yeah.
would go out to the Toronto monologue slams quite often, right? Because we love to throw down, have a monologue in your back pocket, bam, shabam, win a couple $100, leave, be the stars that we are, and all of that shit. So, yeah, Andre Newell, he hosts the Toronto Monologue Fans quite often. So it was like a social gathering of actors in the city. And that's really where our camaraderie founded with these 5 other guys. And we had a choice, right? Because we would see each other in audition rooms, and when you see someone that's your type, they're all BDB, by the way, is a group of 7 Black male actors, all in our 20s to 30s, right?
Right.
So we could look at each other as competition, or we could look at each other as family and build. And because we just had this, I don't know, it was this natural just love and desire to see each other succeed, and no sense of like the negative connotations that come with competition. It was always positive. It was always like iron sharpens iron. Like, whoa, these guys are really fucking talented. I need to step my game up, right? And it became this thing where we would have weekly meetings at Brandon McKnight's house, who's on Flash now as like the series regular. He made it. He made it. Yeah, it would always be at like in Brandon's basement, and we would call it church. Like once a week, we'd come and we'd share what's one thing you did this week to move your career forward. That's how it started. It was just a collective of keeping us accountable.
Yeah.
And then Frank's like, hey guys, do you guys want to like do a short film together? I said, better yet, let's do a play. I want to do I've always wanted to do The Last Days of Judas Iscariot. And I remember auditioning that same year for the one that Unit 102 was doing, and I got a call back, but I didn't get the part.
Yeah.
I'm just like, but fuck it, I still want to do it. Y'all down to do a play? And they were down, and they were down to put money where their mouth is. I'm like, yeah, we can produce it. Because that's another thing too, right? It's being okay to an idea in theory, but when it comes time for the logistics and the money, and you know this, this, Heidi.
Yes,
I don't have to explain. But they were down, and we made it happen, and that's how Judas Noir came to be. We followed all the steps, and we became a production company. We got incorporated. We did the steps, and it's like, wow, okay, this is serious. This is legit now. So here we go.
It's amazing. Yeah, I can't tell you the amount of like ideas or half-started projects or things with people that we've said we were going to do and that it never comes to fruition. Like it's very hard because everyone's so busy and everyone has their acting careers and but it's being a producer is a very special quality, and you do have to have that. Like, I am actually willing to get shit done and do all of the tasks that are annoying and make all the phone calls and write all the emails and, but it always pays off when you get to that finish line and get to actually make your project.
Yeah. So that's how BDP formed, and that's why it's this really close bond, and why we had to call it Big Dreamers Brotherhood, because that's how it started.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I wish that. I think women are starting to. I've never had that experience where a group of women who are auditioning together all the time, like, just decide to say, screw the system, screw the stereotype, screw what everyone's trying to make us feel, like, let's support each other. Like, I have those one-on-one relationships, but it's complicated. I mean, my partner is an actress, and people often will say to me like, oh, that must be so hard dating another actress because you must be competitive. And I'm like, no, I've never had one moment of it. I genuinely believe she is like the best actor I've ever seen in my whole life. So anytime anything good happens to her, also we're in a couple, so it happens to us. But that's a part of the industry that just doesn't need to be there.
But you touched on something really important. It's because you guys are a couple, it kind of just erases it. It's easier to see it as a win for you as well. If you share that mentality with those in your collective, because we have that same mentality as well. Oh, it's in the family. If one of us books it, it's in the family. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's, I think that is the secret to it.
That's beautiful. Yeah. And I feel like the root of that is love. When you love someone, it can be friend love, or romantic love, then you're a part of their community. So the community support you. Every actor knows it takes a village to help you live your emotional life, your financial life. Your friends and your family become your support system. So you are sort of all doing it together. Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's
Uh,
beautiful.
which is like a funny side note where Soul Pepper, they were holding auditions for the role of Levy and Ma Rainey's Black Bottom,
Yeah.
and almost like the majority of BDB, like all of Black Toronto, let's keep it honest, got got seen for that fucking role. And for the callbacks, just seeing like a handful of BDB guys there, it warmed my heart. It's like, okay, we're doing something right. And then Lavelle ended up booking the role, and it's like, obviously it's bittersweet because you want the role, but it was more celebratory. It was celebration. It was just like, yes, it's still a win. And
Yeah.
and that it could sound so fake or unbelievable, but it's true. Like that love actually exists out there where you can root for someone.
For sure. And it does seem sometimes, like the same person is booking everything, but really at the end of the day, there are enough roles to go around. That person booking means there's an open window for the next project that's going to come up a couple of days later. Like there will always be your time. You just have to trust and support everybody around you and get that support from everybody else too, right?
Heidi, hit us with the spin the facts.
It's my sage moment. Okay, this is more just like general about the industry and sort of about you and your journey. In this industry, we get recognized for our successes. There's no publicist for our failures. That whole concept of like an overnight success. But we really we learn a lot from our failures or from the failures of other people, maybe more than we learn from our successes. So I'm wondering, when you look back, what is a failure of yours that taught you the most, that you really learned from?
Wow, that's a really, really, really great question. I think the biggest failure for
And
me.
I say failure with quotation marks too, because
a lesson.
What is failure? Yeah, it's a lesson.
Yeah. The biggest lesson for me is just restructuring my relationship to Instagram. Right? Because Instagram is the form of social media that I use the most. And it's just seeing, it's literally what we talked about just a while ago. Knowing that other people's successes aren't my failures, that everyone has their own trajectory and timing. And some people, for example, like if you look back at Taraji P. Henson, who just blew up from Empire, she's been working. Like she's not had success at all, and she's been putting in the hustle. And there are many times where my friends they'll sense that I'm down or whatnot, and they'll reach out and it's like, hey, you've been grinding. Just know that you're still lit. Just know, even though the bookings are coming your way, know that. Please know that we need you good. Like we need you happy and not ready to tap out. Because it's exhausting. It's exhausting, right? So yeah, it's restructuring my relationship to Instagram because that's where I'm most exposed to seeing all these wins, right? And knowing that I can like and be happy and know that has nothing to do with me, right? That is for them, and I can support them because I love them and I want to see them do well. But as far as it doesn't diminish what I got going on. And also keeping it real on Instagram. All right, just demystify because it's this package of highlights, and I get it. You got to play the game. But I also keep it real because a lot of my friends are a big part of my following as well. So yeah, I just wanted to share this little thing that I wrote, this little blurb.
Oh, I love to hear it.
So this was right before phase 2 was happening, and we're now able to go back to our Joe jobs. So I wrote this little thing here. To all my actor friends and artists dreading to go back to the Joe job, breathe, even through the mask. I find Instagram usually shows a collection of highlights. The unglamorous side of acting is often followed in. I have a Dora nomination. To my American friends, that's like a Tony Award nomination. and a Toronto Critics Pick nomination under my belt. I was also the winner of Canada's Emerging Artist of the Year last year. I'm now an acting coach for Raw Actors Studio. I'm being offered teaching and guest directing positions for post-secondary institutions. My short films on CBC Gem. I'm lit. I'm undeniably talented in my field of work, yet I'm back to serving tables in this pandemic, right? It was really a tough pill to swallow, but it needs to be done. Your accolades don't diminish because you need a part-time job to stay afloat. Please know this. You will be able to put that apron or whatever it is down soon. I promise. Put in the work. That's all it is.
Yeah. I remember
Yeah.
reading that, and I think I direct messaged you and I was like,
Yeah.
funnily enough, just want to let you know that Alex and Perry and I have been writing a role for you for like 2 months. You know? Because you also never know. Like you
never
put
know.
you put a stand if you just keep doing the work and being wonderful to work with, you know, you never know like what is around the corner. Not that avocado toast is going to change your life. And also like, you know, who knows what's going to happen in a year's time. Like hopefully some other bigger opportunity steals you away from us and we have to like find someone else or like work around your schedule. Like, you know, and I have all faith that that's going to happen, but you have to also like the nobility of work is work. Also
Yeah.
this concept that you know, that there's nothing negative attached to having to work. That is the reality of being an actor.
Yeah.
And as much as like this sounds sort of wishy-washy, but like our job is to understand people. So all actors, even if you have a job, like use that time to be curious, to meet people you never would have met in your little actor bubble and understand people. And the next time you have an audition, like you might be better at it. You never know. But yeah.
Hands down. And I even say that to the actors that I coach now in class, where how do you go about your training? And is it only learning these lines? Is it learning scripts, practicing monologues and delivery? No, there's so much. There's a whole breadth of ways you could investigate and further your acting. It's through having tough conversations, through having real conversations with your loved ones. It's through people watching. It's through actually living your life. Art imitates life, right? So if you're not living your life, if your life only becomes this acting thing, it limits you. You have to have other things to pull on. You have to live to talk about living.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
For sure.
So
I was listening to a podcast too recently, and it was about like the science of multitasking and how it is actually good for your brain. And a lot of inventors will have, like Einstein, even he was working on the theory of relativity, and then he was also working on this other project. And he would, when he was getting frustrated with one, he would go to the other. And that's actually very good for your creative juices. So, you know,
I believe it.
Right. Okay. I think this is going to be my last question, but I feel like you have extra insight to this because you've been acting coaching and you've also, you know, written, produced, created your own work. I assume that you cast Residue, you cast the work that you do. So do you think there is such thing as an it factor for actors? Do you know when you see it? And what do you think it is?
I don't think I don't believe in the traditional like, oh, she's the it girl. But I do believe in the it factor. Like if someone can have it, I feel like we all just have to tap into okay, for example, there's an actor that I had very early on in my career. I was casting this web series, and he came in and he wanted to audition for three different parts, right? And I clearly only saw him as the character Caesar. But he came into the room, and we even asked him, "Would you need time to go out and prep in between?" And he's like, "Nope, I could do them back to back. Which one would you like to start with first?" And I was like, okay, let's see Caesar. Kills it, bodies it. I'm like, yeah, I knew he was gonna body it because that's what I saw him for. Yeah. And then he was ready to audition for Aiden, the lead, and he didn't change much, but like his character nuances and just I saw it. He didn't even make a big deal out of his process, you know, like a roll down,
Mm-hmm.
like what I would do fresh out of theater school. And what it was just it was in his head, like it was just a
Yeah.
thought that shifted, and then his mannerisms and very subtle but believable. It wasn't anything put on. Shifted, killed that as well, and I was even more shook by that one
Wow.
because I didn't see that happening within seconds. And then he shifted again and gave the best auditions out of everyone we saw that day for all three parts.
Wow.
So I that moment
How do
really
you
taught
pick?
me of chameleon acting, right?
Yeah.
And it's I've always wanted to be an actor that's able to transform. Yeah, still keep myself as the foundation of the character, but add nuance. Don't be afraid of playing with voice. And I wanted to be the actor where people have to look me up and be like, is that he really like that in real life? You know what I mean? And it's
Yeah.
like that experience. So and it I remember reading this article about how Jennifer Lawrence was the it girl of all times, and she was freaking talented. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
I get it, but not being able to. It was only through seeing her interviews where I'm just like, okay, I see the charm. Here, let me just give it really succinct here. With watching celebrities and whoever the it person is at that time, you can't try to recreate that for yourself. You have to find whatever adjective, whatever makes them magnetic,
Mm-hmm.
and figure out if you possess that quality. If you don't, fuck that noise.
Yeah.
What makes you magnetic?
Yeah.
Ask your loved ones
Yeah.
what your strongest skill sets are, or
Yeah.
what and
I like that. It's
work
like,
on that.
yeah, the it factor is attainable. You just
Yes,
have to figure out what it is for you.
for you.
It's not
Yeah,
something that some people have or some people don't. Everyone
yeah.
can have it, but
Everyone
they
can
have to
have it.
connect with what makes them special and know that going into the room. I
Yes,
like that a lot.
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you so very much for your time, Leighton. I really appreciate it.
I enjoyed being here.
Yay. Thank you so much, Leighton.
Thank you, Heidi.
Thank you so much for listening.
And thank you to Ontario Creates for the support to make Avocado Toast the Series podcast possible. You can pick your player to watch all 10 episodes of Avocado Toast the Series at www.avocadotoasttheseries.com.
We'd also love to give a huge shout out to Russell Lauder for the use of their beautiful song, Cost of Living. You can find more of their music sprinkled throughout the episodes of our web series, as well as on Spotify, Bandcamp, and iTunes. And links to their social media is in our show notes.